So, what made you decide to get into pranks, first of all?
Thanks. I guess first of all, I was watching stuff on YouTube, and I was watching like a lot of the American guys back in the day. So we're talking like maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. And I just saw them just having so much fun, doing all these crazy, wacky things, and I was just kind of like, I could do that. I could actually do that myself. And yeah, I guess it inspired me in that way, like not just as a consumer to be like constantly consuming all these videos and stuff, but actually going out there, doing it, pushing out my comfort zone, and having fun. That was the main reason to start it all, for fun.
It looks pretty easy on screen, doesn't it? Like, but it's probably not as easy as it looks.
No, it is. It is as easy as it looks. If you think otherwise, it's all in your head. Anyone can do this. It's not like a special talent or only some people can do it. Anyone can do this shit. It's just a question of literally just fucking doing it, not caring, and I guess just being like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it, and who cares.
And the title Twattery, where did that come from? Because it's a memorable name. It really sticks.
I spent a long time thinking that one up, actually. Before that, it was actually supposed to be buffoonery. But the guy that I was first like filming with, he said, "Oh no, don't do that name because I might want to use that." Oh no, he said that his name began with a B or something, and then he was like, "Oh, I don't want that name because if we become really big in the prank scene, I don't want us two to be competing with each other with the letter B." It was a stupid fucking
proper
reason.
British
It's complete bullshit. It was complete nonsense, but that was kind of the reason. But then I thought to myself, actually, Twattery is a better name than buffoonery. Buffoonery is a bit stupid. Well,
and
so is Twattery, but yeah.
The first time I came across one of your videos on YouTube was when you asked 100 girls for their number. Like, no game, no charisma needed, straight up, "Excuse me, can I have your number? Can I have your number? Can I have your number?" And the reason I was laughing so hard at it because I couldn't tell if you were serious or not. Like, you had such a deadpan expression, so that was like one of my favorites. But what was one of your favorite pranks to do?
The one in America when I was playing as a British gentleman, as in like a 1920s British gentleman, playing on the stereotype of how Americans perceive British people, but picking up girls in that manner, like a Sherlock Holmes type character with the extreme accent. I just found that really fun to do because it was on a college campus and people there are naturally more receptive, more friendly, more open to having fun and stuff. So it was just a fun video. Like, everything just went perfectly. We did it in like 2 hours. It was just solid.
And what I like about your videos is like the sheer awkwardness you put yourself through. Like, not only because of the situations you put yourself in, but also the kind of reactions you get, because they're like genuine reactions. So would you say there's a difference in the kind of reactions you get in London compared to America?
Yeah, for sure. There's always going to be like cultural differences where you go, like around the globe. It's like a difference between like Americans and British people. The main difference, obviously, Americans, they're more open, they're more chatty. It doesn't necessarily mean in a positive or negative way, but they're just more willing to speak to you and kind of.
That's the kind
kind of just be more open with their feelings and let you know about how they feel. Whereas English and to some extent Europeans are more closed off. They're more insular. They're more they'll think something but they won't say it.
It must be trickier to get a rise out of them.
I mean, well, you can. The thing is, you can get some serious reactions here as well if you find the right people. But it's weird, like if you do it on an American college campus, you're not going to get any like super violent or mean reactions generally, but you are going to get, it's mostly going to be like super friendly and open people, and that's really what makes the video. Whereas here, you're not gonna. It's gonna be more of a struggle, like on the streets of London, to find like super friendly.
Probably
and
the
open
weather
people.
as well. Like right now, it's like really.
Yeah,
cold,
the weather plays a part, but it's also a cultural
people's
thing,
mood. And was there a prank where you genuinely felt uncomfortable? Like maybe you were scared, or maybe I might have pushed this one a bit too far. Like I should get out of this situation. Or do you never feel any of that stuff?
I think, as in like I pushed it too far.
Pushed it too far and thought, okay, this wasn't a good idea.
Let me think. Trying to think.
The police siren, maybe something to do with the police.
Yeah, there was one. There was one actually. I filmed and I didn't even release it on the channel because it was so bad. I can't fully remember what it was, but it was something to do with like sniffing some girl's panties, and, like pretending it was like my ex-girlfriend's or something, and then having like some kind of like monologue to strangers about it. And like so many, I did like 5 people, and they were like super creeped out.
Wow.
So I think one of them called security and stuff.
Okay,
so I knew it was a stupid fucking idea.
It looked good on paper, right? Like it felt like a good idea at the time.
Like, on paper, it seems like let's do this, and then when you're doing it, it's like, fuck me, what am I doing?
Right, fair. And how can you tell if a prank is like fake or staged? Like,
yeah, it's a good question.
Keen eye for that.
Yeah, I mean, when you've done it for as much as I have, it's super easy and obvious to tell. But for like the layperson, it's a bit more tricky. But generally speaking, you've got to kind of it mainly comes down to common sense. Like, would a real person act like that? Like, for example. Okay, let's say you're trying to bait out a violent reaction out of someone. Mm-hmm. Like, let's say your prank idea is to step on someone's shoes. Okay, so you go up to someone, you have a little bit of a chat, you step on someone's shoes. Do they immediately start grabbing you and hitting you? In real life, they wouldn't do that. No, there would be a bit of a split second where they'd be like, "Wait, what the fuck are you doing? Why the fuck did you do that?"
Right.
For?
Yes.
And then there'd be a gradual increase in tension. Before the violence starts to emerge, so that's something to look out for.
And also, there's obvious ones, maybe like the gold digger pranks and the kissing pranks, in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, I mean those ones you just need to use common sense. Yeah, like, would that happen in real life? No, it fucking wouldn't. Would it be able to happen repeatable, multiple times in multiple videos? No, it fucking wouldn't. Because like those sorts of reactions are like 1 in a million. There's no fucking way you'd be able to consistently do that. And then there's other things as well. Like, let's say you're doing these like those like girlfriend boyfriend pranks. It's like, would you be able to prank the same girlfriend over and over and over and over again consistently? No, unless she's got the memory of a goldfish. No, there's no fucking way you can prank the same person over and over again and be like, oh, it's just for a video again. Got you. It's bullshit.
You can start telling the signs.
And then another thing to look out for is like the camera angles. If they're super perfect, super still, the camera's just on like a tripod, and
most people question the camera, like, is that guy filming this?
But the main thing really is just like look at the social interaction and see how it like flows. Is this like what would happen in a real life scenario, or is it like, sometimes people will say things really robotically, or they'll just like the tension will just dramatically rise suddenly, which when in real life it wouldn't work like that. There'd be like confusion. There'd be like, wait, what the fuck are you doing? Or why the fuck do you say that? Or like, what the fuck? Or there'd be that kind of thing, rather than just like step on the shoes. Oh, I'm gonna punch you straight away in the face. Or I'm gonna run after you. Something like that. There's a gradual increase in the tension, and also it generally comes down to like shitty acting, bad acting. So just watch out for bad acting, basically.
So you kind of transferred to a more, let's say, maybe professional avenue as a dating coach, and were you able to use some of your experience from doing pranks into what you're doing now?
Kind of. The thing with the pranks is that it's like that stuff, it helps you to get into a state where you just don't give a fuck at all, and you're completely socially liberated. You've got that social freedom aspect nailed down. So the transition to doing pranks to pick up is like really quite simple. Whereas a lot of guys, they just go straight. They want to just get straight into pickup because that's what they're interested in. They want to like be able to go up to girls, meet them, talk to them, and so that transition from like, let's say, basement dweller to a guy who just randomly picks up girls is massive. But for me, luckily, I was able to do pranks, and so the transition was nowhere near what most people would have to go through. So yeah, for me, like, if anything, like, pickup is actually more toned down than doing pranks, because pranks I was doing some
extreme
insane
level.
It's quite extreme, and like the stuff I was doing was quite insane.
One thing I wanted to ask, what kind of mindset do you need to do this kind of, be in those crazy situations? Because most people will be like really scared.
The key thing is just to not give a fuck.
Right.
Stop giving a fuck. That's if I could just summarize it in one sentence, it would be that. Just stop giving a fuck. And it applies to pickup as well. Just like everyone makes a big deal out of it, like, oh god, I don't think I can approach that girl. So like, you're caring too much. You just need to stop caring. Stop giving so much of a fuck. It's really
is
not
it easier said than done? Like,
of course, yeah, it's easier said than done. It's easy to say stop giving a fuck, but that's ultimately what it is. It's just don't give a fuck, just do the action. Just move your legs, move your mouth, say something, say hello, say hi, ask a question. That's the foundation.
So there is a lot of dating coaches around nowadays. What would define you specifically? Like, what would separate you from all the other ones?
I guess it's the fact that with me it's very hands-on. I only deal with like the raw reality of it. In other words, like the actual going out there, doing approaches.
So you don't sugarcoat.
It's no bullshit. It's not like just a therapy session where you're sitting and chatting about it. It's going out there and fucking actually doing it, focusing on the taking action. The conversation stuff, the body language stuff, all of these things like that, the first impressions, all of these things that constitute an interaction, these things are what I focus on. Like, how can you optimize that? How can you optimize that initial interaction to increase your chances of getting numbers, going out on dates, taking things further, etc.
Would you, because obviously in the middle of a pandemic now, would you say it's getting a bit more difficult for men to meet women nowadays in the current climate?
It is. Like, it's not as easy as it used to be. Some people are a little bit paranoid about the pandemic and COVID and stuff, whereas in some ways it's actually a blessing, because there's a lot of single people, lonely out there, girls as well, who want to meet other guys, and they want to meet people. Maybe they're a little bit more desperate now. So in some ways overall I'd say it's not as good, because let's say you do meet someone and you want to take them out for a date, it's like half the places are closed, or they close at random times, and there's all these rules and restrictions.
Well, a lot of people are so used to staying at home now, they got like cabin fever, and like to open up again it's going to be a bit tricky.
Exactly. So many people, like the levels of social anxiety have probably risen as a result of this pandemic, and also various other mental health issues as well as a result of like the isolation. So it's certainly made a difference, and it certainly made it more difficult, but if anything it's even more important now that people are meeting each other, and at least making that effort to meet each other.
So obviously you've been traveling a lot lately. So what differences do you see between the way women respond to you in different countries?
I'd say like outside of the UK, the girls, they tend to be, I guess, more receptive in some ways into guys coming up to them, doing a cold approach. I think it's just to do with the culture. Like outside of the UK, people are a little bit more open and friendly in general. So that can massively help, because I was in Sweden and Ukraine and also Serbia earlier this year. And it's easier to kind of get into conversations with random people or strangers like on the street. It's almost a bit more like culturally accepted in some ways. That's not to say it can't be done in the UK, because it absolutely can, and it's, in my opinion, it's actually the best way to meet people, even in the UK. I think like in the UK there's I don't know, we're quite cold as a society, as a culture, and we're brought up in a way where we're told not to speak to strangers are bad, that kind of thing. But I think like overseas, the people are slightly more open to it, and there's more chance that the girls are going to be interested in you. There's also the fact that the British accent definitely helps a lot. So like if you've got a British accent and you're out there with British,
to it, right?
I mean the girls, they are intrigued by it. They think it's cool, the fact that you're from the UK, you're visiting their country. They find that intriguing. They find that as like it gives you that kind of edge of like being an interesting person, where there's something that they really want to find out about you, why it is that you've come there, what your story is, that kind of thing. It definitely gives you an edge.
Well, I mean, traveling in general makes you a more rounded, interesting person, like international. So definitely recommend it to anyone.
And it's just a great experience, because like the girls are different, the cultures are different. It's great just to go out there and have that alternative experience, especially if you've been like doing a lot of say day game in the UK or in London. Just going out, exploring different places, it's just such a valuable, enriching experience, because the girls are different as well. They're not only generally speaking far more attractive, but they're just more interesting because they've got that different sort of life experience, as well as different upbringings, and just the whole culture.
Have to adapt to it, I suppose. Like you might have a different kind of personality, what they have, or different morals. So
like in Ukraine, for example, like the girls, most of them are looking for husbands, and they're 21, 22, and they're looking for husbands. they're looking for that long-term like husband guy. Whereas 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds in the UK, I mean, they're just looking for a guy that they can meet in a party or something. And another thing I noticed was that like when I was having jokes with some of the Ukrainian girls, like I'd be doing my normal banter, whatever, saying something as a joke, but it wouldn't quite translate as a joke to them. So sometimes they'd be taking what I was saying very literally. So there's these like different, yeah, like it'd be like a blank stare, or it'd just be like they'd be like taking it the wrong way when it's clearly meant as a joke. And anywhere else where they speak good levels of English, they would understand that it's a joke. But over there, because the culture's a bit different and they take everything so literally, they don't have that level of banter, that same level of banter, and so things do get misinterpreted. And so you just sometimes there's just these little things these little nuances that are just different, and you have to like adapt a bit.
So to kind of round this off, so what's your general philosophy on dating?
I guess I'd say like when it comes to dating, it's just to be natural as possible. I don't believe in like pretending to be someone you're not, or using like scripted lines, or seeing someone else act a certain way on YouTube or somewhere else and then trying to emulate them and copy them. I believe that people should be themselves to a large extent, whilst also bearing in mind that there are certain learned and applied skills involved as well when it comes to social interaction, and when it comes especially to flirting, and when it comes to actually creating that emotional connection with a person. I think there are certain learned skills that should be applied, but it's about combining that with just generally being yourself, and not necessarily being someone else because you see them getting success, so therefore you feel like you should emulate them. So that's my main kind of philosophy, I would say. And then generally speaking, the way I try to coach is just dealing with the raw, honest reality of dating and of day game.
It's a harsh reality. It's a harsh world.
Realizing the reality of, the sexual marketplace, realizing your value, your sexual market value, just these like harsh truths that you need to sort of bear in mind. Things like looks matter, they do matter. I don't like to bullshit people, so they don't matter. It's all about your verbal communication. There's a lot of
unflattering, uncomfortable truths.
There are some uncomfortable truths. There's a lot of bullshit in the industry. I like to just deal with the raw, honest reality of what happens, what's happening.
And general life philosophy.
I would say be happy and don't screw other people over. So
good words.
I would say happiness whilst not screwing other people over.
That's a good point.
The reason I like to do coaching is because it's something I'm massively passionate about, and I feel like it's something that's lacking in the world generally. We don't get taught these social skills of how to interact with the opposite sex or how to flirt.
Well, definitely not back in the day.
Like in school they don't teach you this stuff.
At school.
And I'm thinking like, on the one hand, it'd be good if they actually did teach these things to kids and teenagers and stuff, because it would massively help them in the real world. But another part of me thinks that, okay, if you were to teach it in schools, part of that magic would be lost, and there's a certain like magic involved in terms of actually finding out about it, learning about it, and then applying it when you're in your adult life, finding out about it, exploring it, discovering it, whether it's to like whatever avenue that takes. There's a certain like wonder, I guess, in terms of actually discovering it, and
to make it like so academic, would take away some of the magic.
And to like institutionalize something that's quite that should be quite natural. Have fun,
guys.
Don't take it all so seriously. Like a lot of guys, they get into this thing and they just take it so fucking seriously. Like, oh, I must get a girlfriend. Oh shit, I didn't get any numbers today. Fuck. And it's like, just relax and just like realize it's not such a big deal. You don't want to be putting too much pressure on yourself, because then, like, first of all, you're just gonna not end up enjoying what you're doing, and it's just gonna make you depressed. Like, the whole thing with this is that you want to just be genuinely enjoying going out, doing the dating stuff, going out, approaching, going out on dates. You want to actually genuinely enjoy those things, because if you look at it as work, it's never going to end up going well for you, because it's just going to be something that you don't particularly want to do. You're just doing it because you feel like you should be doing it, but it's not something internally you're actually wanting to do. So yeah, I think like the way you go about it should resonate with you on a personal level, on an emotional level, and it's something that you genuinely want to do, and it brings you genuine happiness into your life.
Guys, check out Ed on Twittery, his prank channel, and his dating channel, Ed Game Coaching, right?
I thought you looked it up.
That's the full name, right? Just so I don't get it wrong.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not to be confused with Endgame, because if you type in Endgame into YouTube, then Avengers Endgame comes up. So that's why I had to change the name to Endgame Coaching. But yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, guys. Take care.
Cool. Cheers.